So let's hear someone who actually is with Extinction Rebellion. Paul Stevens, who served as a police officer with the Met for more than 3 decades. You're a member of the Extinction Rebellion police liaison team. You're a former detective sergeant in the Met. And I know this much, you're in the studio. Thank you for coming in, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Nick.
What do Extinction Rebellion want?
Well, we want 3 demands. We want the government to tell the truth. So the climate emergency is facing us, and often they are not telling the truth. They are greenwashing the information that's coming out.
What do you mean by greenwashing? Explain that to my listeners.
It's being like,
obviously whitewashing.
For example, if you look at the Prime Minister's latest speech in the Houses of Parliament, he said that he was very proud of the 40% reduction in carbon that the UK had put out. That because we're an island, that doesn't include aviation, that doesn't include shipping, and it doesn't include all the products that we now import that are made in China using coal to produce them. So the actual figure is about 10% since the 1990. And the UN says in order for us to keep, for a 50-50 chance of keeping to 1.5 degrees, we need to reduce by 8% per year. And this is 10% over 30 years. So it's not good enough, and he's not being clear about that. And I think he should go to the people and say, this is the problem. It is a major problem. It threatens our lives, our food, our water, and we need to do something about it. I'm very proud to be British, and in the war we turned pram factories into Spitfire factories. We need that kind of spirit. We need to lead the world. And I think Boris has got a chance. He did it with the Olympics. He should do this with COP26. He should get us together and really lead the world in making the changes necessary.
And if the United Kingdom was to achieve that, what about other countries? I think countries such as India and China, they're not necessarily going to follow in the same way.
Obviously, but you can't tell someone to take their feet off the seat in a train if you've got your feet on the seat. You have to take the lead. You have to give an example. So, and we produce most of the carbon in the atmosphere today, and we taught other countries how to do it with steam and...
But we're not on the same level as China, are we?
I think you'll find that you personally produce much, much more carbon than the average Chinaman. So per capita, it's like 3, 4, 5 times.
But there's 1.7 billion of those.
Of course, and they are making
67 million of 70 million of ours.
They are making changes, and when they start to make changes, because of their system of government, they're going to change very quickly. I hope.
What are the plans for May?
We're going to have a rebellion on May the 23rd. Our people are trying very hard to think of creative ways to bring the message to the media that doesn't create disruption. I'm not for disruption. We've tried every avenue up to now. Unfortunately, the disruption we have created worked. I mean, I'm sitting here. If I'd rang up LBC a year ago and said there is a massive crisis...
I don't think you can count that argument any longer, for goodness sake.
Why?
David Attenborough was alongside Boris Johnson at this conference yesterday.
Yep.
Are you honestly telling me you think people out there are not aware of the issues of climate change?
Some people are not. Some people come up to us in the street while we're sitting in the road and they say, why are you doing this? Who's Extinction Rebellion? Many people say that.
So you want to be by peaceful means this May, though?
It's always... Well,
it's not, is it?
It's
sometimes
non-violent.
It's
we are
stopping people trying to get to work.
That's absolutely committed to non-violence.
No, it also can trip into people not being able to get to work on public transport, such as Canning Town.
Absolutely, yeah. I didn't agree with that action. I didn't agree with that action.
So what can be done to ensure?
The people who did it were extremely... they care extremely about the people of London and the effects of climate change that are coming.
So that justifies it?
Well, you have to look at the context. You act in a way proportionate to the emergency, which doesn't mean becoming violent. We are absolutely committed to non-violence because I think that would backfire hugely.
Right, but you are committed to disruption.
No, if it's a tactic that works, then we are committed to mass disobedience.
So will you seek to take control of bridges again this May?
The tactics haven't been ironed out yet.
Well, would you support it?
I would liaise with the police and see what they had to say about it, and hopefully this time they would communicate with us and we can come to some kind of
So you would support
agreement.
it if your colleagues wanted it?
If it's well, a lot of it depends on what the government does, because if the government continue in investing in fossil fuels, which is going to kill us, then we still need to raise the alarm.
What gives you or your colleagues the right to stop someone going to work?
Well, what does a construction worker... Why does a construction worker...
Who said it was a construction worker?
Who needs to finish his roadworks, why does he have the right to stop you going to work when he blocks a road to work
because
on
the road's dangerous and they need to fill the hole in.
The road's dangerous.
So it's got a hole in it.
This crisis is the most dangerous risk that we are facing.
That justifies you. People lost their jobs last time. Courier companies let men, I happen to know they're all men go. People lost their jobs. You justify that?
We were giving out flyers to couriers when they met us, and we gave them flyers and we said, please give that to
I don't care if you're giving out Girl Guide packs.
We are
People
really
lost
sorry.
their jobs.
I joined the police in 1983. My job has been assessing risk. So when intelligence comes in, I have to work out what is the chance that this is true. Okay? And then I have to work out what are the consequences if it is true. Is it going to be a murder? Is somebody going to die? Is there going to be a rape?
What's this to do with someone losing his job or their job? What's it to do with that?
Because it's the context.
So it's okay.
People get disrupted all the time. They get disrupted by
courier
public
drivers
transport.
out of work, coming up to Christmas, but that's fine, is it for you? You have some greater authority to put people out of work.
We are looking at our
You were a
food
gentleman called Dan
disappearing.
Biddle.
Our potato crop has already been hit.
Mr. Biddle lost a number of limbs in the July bombing here.
Yeah.
He was due to attend a reception at the House of Lords where he was going to be his life was going to be celebrated as a prominent disability rights campaigner. He couldn't get there because of your colleagues. He'll never have that opportunity again in his life. That's okay, is it?
If he had presented himself, if he'd come and spoken to us,
Why
we
should
would
he
have
have
ensured.
to? What are
that
you
he
now?
would
Your
have
own
got through.
authority? You're now like the police?
We have a right to be
You
there.
have to present
We
yourself.
have a right to be
you
there
have to
because we
present
care.
yourself to be allowed to go across the highway.
If
Is that
there
what
was
you're
any
saying?
other
So you
choice,
take control now. So
if
you're
there
your
was
own
any other
authority.
choice, if there was any other choice, then we would have used the other methods.
What do you mean if there's any other choice?
Greenpeace have been doing it for years and they haven't got the same exposure as us. If the media was more sensitive to minority groups and important
Talk
issues...
to me about the success of the LGBT lobby. How did they achieve it?
I have no
Tell me how
knowledge
many
of that.
bridges
I'm not
they
an
closed.
expert in the LGBT
Tell me
lobby.
how many people lost their jobs as a result of their work.
I have no idea.
I'll
about
answer
that.
it for you. They
Go
haven't
on.
closed a single bridge and no one's lost their job. They did it by engaging with the community, not obstructing the community. Again, I put it to you, what gives you the right to stop a disabled person getting to an award ceremony? What gives you the right to put 4 people out of work? Please don't say the climate's dying and we won't know, no one will have a job and everyone will be disabled. You're not going to give me that, are you?
Well, what's wrong with that? That is true.
So that allows
do you
pe-
agree
that
in the
allows
climate
people
emergency?
So a bloke didn't have money on the table at Christmas, and that's all right in your eyes?
No, it's not all right. And this government should do more about social services. That's not all right, definitely. But do you agree with that there is a climate emergency that needs tackling as an emergency right now? Do you agree about that?
Yes, of course. That's absolutely
Okay, so
given.
do you, Nick, think that the government is actually doing their job properly? That they are addressing it fast enough?
Well, they seem to have spent enough time yesterday at that conference. Yes, I do.
Well, they
yeah.
spent a morning. They spent a morning.
Well, yeah, but the Prime Minister was there, and goodness me, we're having a whole committee set up. Yes, they are doing a lot. What is the
So you think they're doing enough?
I don't know enough, but they're certainly doing a lot.
So while the main oil companies are investing $115 billion in extracting more oil and gas, which is going to poison us in the future, and our food supply, you think the government are doing enough?
Well, how on earth do you think this research is going to be done unless you have companies such as that who conduct research?
They have to switch to green energy. They
What?
have to switch
When?
to green energy as soon as possible.
Well, perhaps they are. What's the
They're
ultimate?
not.
What's the ultimate goal of Extinction Rebellion?
The ultimate goal is to get the government to tell the
Why are you
truth.
laughing? What's funny?
Because we've told you so many times. We have
Well,
the
okay,
Three
I'm gonna
Demands
say,
Act.
well,
We've
we-
put a bill
well, we
before
seem to be
Parliament.
getting- we seem to be
so
getting a
no,
mixed
you asked
message.
me a question. Yeah.
No, I'd
Tell
like-
the truth. Act now and beyond politics.
Okay.
So
I
we
don't know how
want
familiar you are
citizens'
with-
assemblies
Yeah.
to
I see.
dictate what happens in the community.
I don't know how familiar you are with a gentleman called Simon Bramwell.
I've never met him. I know what you're referring to.
He's one of the founders. If you'd
He-
like to put the headphones on, we can play you a clip of him. He was addressing a meeting some time ago. Just to remind my
what
listeners,
meeting was he addressing?
Simon Bramwell. Simon Bramwell was one of the founders of Extinction Rebellion. He was addressing a splinter or another group, and this is what he had to say.
It is part of our duty, in my opinion, that we've also got to not only take down civilization, but shepherd ourselves and the incoming generations back into a state of wilding, as it were, into like a feral consciousness.
Okay, so he was addressing, if it's important to you, a deep green meeting in December, so the month before last. Take down civilization. This is the reality of it, isn't it, of what this organisation is about?
Deep Green are not Extinction Rebellion.
It's an offshoot of.
They include violent action. We are definitely committed to non-violent action. I have
This man is a
I have never met
co-founder.
him. Could I just come back to you on that recording? He's not with us now, I believe. I've never met him. I've been in since April. I've never met him, and I've never met anybody to express that
He's
kind
still
of
the
view.
co-founder.
Lots of people started this, and for whatever, but I don't really care because I have
You
been
don't
in
care
it.
that he wants to bring down
I don't care
civilization.
because we have a massive threat facing us.
Right.
That's what I care about. And the people.
So if there's no
I wanted
civilization,
to.
what are we going to do about hospitals?
No, I'd like to read you something that the judge said about Extinction Rebellion. Judge Noble.
Which judge?
Judge Noble.
Right. And speaking
said-
when? I mean, what did you stop it?
This
What's the context?
This was 3 weeks ago in his last trial of Extinction Rebellion, because they only do a certain amount of months. He did scores of Extinction Rebellion people in court. He said, I was fully expecting to see the usual crowd of anarchists and communists and all the dreadful things the Daily Mail say you are. I have to say I've been totally overwhelmed by all the defendants. It is such a pleasure to deal with people so different from all the people I deal with in my regular life. Thank you for your courtesy, your honesty and your integrity. You have to succeed.
Right.
That is what a judge is saying about us.
So suddenly all changes on the word of one judge. One judge.
Well,
I
this-
play you
this
the
is
co-founder.
You
He's
play
the co-founder.
me. You play me.
He's
you play
the
me
co-founder
recording of somebody I've never met.
Well, it doesn't matter whether you've
and
met him or
definitely
not.
is expressing views
Mr.
that I've
Stevens.
never heard within Extinction
He's the
Rebellion. I work with
co-founder.
doctors. I work with doctors.
If that was the
barristers.
chairman of the rolls, I might listen.
I work with doctors, A&E doctors.
Okay.
Like the.
So when there's no civilization, what will we do with it? We won't have hospitals. We'll all be living in caves again.
That's why
This
I'm
is
out
the
trying to
ultimate
do
goal.
something about it, to
And
avert this crisis.
That's where Mr. Bratmore wants to take us back to. Take down civilization.
Why are you talking about a man I've never met? I can't give you
What, you can
information
o-
about him.
So you can only ever talk about people you meet.
I can only talk about my
My God.
experience.
Right. So
I don't know this man,
Right.
and he's not part of Extinction Rebellion. And
Well-
there he's talking to a group which advocate
He was
violence.
part of
So
Extinction
I want
Rebellion.
nothing to do with him if he has those views.
£42 million it cost the police last year. £42 million.
Yes.
Money that I'm sure you think could be spent better with your former colleagues and the work they did in Streatham on the weekend.
Yes.
Again, can you justify that?
I don't think the police should have used that many police. We were overwhelmed with police all the time. We needed a few police liaison officers to liaise with us.
How
to
do you
look
stop
after
your
the people.
colleagues gluing themselves to the doors of offices and things like that, unless you have some coppers about?
What do you think will happen if,
Why don't you
if
answer
they're
a
stuck
question?
to the door?
Why? So it's okay to stick themselves. I see. So people not being able to get in and out of work is okay. So now we've got to get even more people who can't go to work.
Well,
is that
usually
right?
there's back entrances they can go through. All
Why
they're
should
trying
they
to
have
do,
to go? Why should someone have to go through the back door to go to work?
because there is a massive crisis
This justifies
facing
everything
the
in your
world,
book, doesn't it?
Well, it should, shouldn't it? Don't you think? Don't you think it should?
No, what, breaking the law?
Don't you think,
Do you think
a
it- no,
massive
no, I don't know. I've just answered you. You answer
existential
me.
crisis
Do you think it justifies breaking the law?
Justifies non-violent
Do
action.
you think it justifies breaking the law?
It justifies non-violent action.
No,
What
we'll try
individuals
again.
do...
Does it justify breaking the law?
What's the most serious thing that,
Why do you always answer a question with a question? Does it justify breaking the law?
in certain circumstances?
Really? So you would, and you're the police
the context.
liaison officer,
And the law-
So I'm sat
Hang
opposite
on.
you, and I'm on the Met side,
Yeah.
and I know you're a guy who advocates breaking the law.
That is the dilemma we put to the police, because we believe in necessity. Necessity is an excuse in the law, and we believe we are saving lives by breaking the lowest laws that there are, like Section 14, for example, sitting in the road, criminal damage under
Why
£5,000.
Why do you oppose Section 14? Just to remind my listeners, this would, for the purpose of debate, designate Trafalgar Square as an area for protest, and you can have your rallies and your speeches quite rightly, but the roads around Trafalgar Square you are not allowed to intervene so that everyone can keep moving. Why would you oppose that?
What do you mean? Why do I oppose it?
Would you support that? Are you in agreement with the use of Section 14?
I agree that the Section 14 is there and they should use it, yeah.
So you would be happy to do it. So if
What do
they
you mean
were
I'd
to
be
say-
happy to do it? What do you
you would
mean?
be happy to agree with Section 14 for Hyde Park.
It depends on the circumstances.
Well, what would be against it?
It depends on the circumstances. It depends how many people we've come. If we've got 40,000 people coming to London, Hyde Park would not be big enough.
Right, okay, so we move you to Twickenham. You'd be satisfied then?
It depends on the circumstances. I can't answer a hypothetical in that.
But you would be
But the
supportive of
important
not
thing
blocking the roads.
The important thing is when we go to court, we are arguing a legal issue. A necessity. We are saying it's
Well, you're saying it's human
necessary
rights as well.
for us to do it, and human rights, but it's necessary for us to do it because people are dying if we don't do it.
But the human rights of people who want to go to work are somehow trumped by the human rights
Absolutely,
of your
but if they don't go
colleagues.
to work, people don't die.
So your people have to take over Waterloo Bridge or people will die?
I'm glad you're getting it.
No,
Finally,
is-
Nick.
is-
I'm
is-
glad
is
you're
that
getting
what you're
it.
saying? People are going to die.
Unfortunately, we've tried every single avenue.
You're already heard of. Everybody knows about you.
Now, but this only started in.
But if it's you
this
agree
started
they've
in
heard now, we
November.
don't need you back in May.
I joined in April. This is a very young organisation, and the government still is not doing enough. They're taking half a step forwards by bringing the.
The conference yesterday.
Yeah. You know the petrol and diesel cars
Yes,
that we phased
the
out 5
emissions.
years earlier. That's brilliant, but that's half a step forwards, 5 steps backwards. So we need to be honest with the public.
How is
and
that
how
5
we do
steps
that.
backwards? They brought it forward
Because they
5
have all
years.
those other policies, investing in fossil
The
fuels,
truth
for
is, they
example.
could never do enough for you and you or your colleagues.
That's not true. That's not true. They could take up the 3 demands bill that we're asking for.
Right, okay.